then moved to Reizo, Denjiro, Kawamatsu and Inuarashi. Reizo suddenly felt the presence of someone very strong approaching the flower capital. You feel it too, right Denjiro? Asked Reizo. Denjiro then answered, yes. Don't bother Luffy and the others with this problem, we'll take care of it ourselves, said Denjiro. Nico, come with us, said Reizo. The Shogun's bodyguards headed towards the place where the person they felt was. Then moved to Ryakuju, which continues to get closer to the flower capital. The ability to influence other people is truly unusual, an ability that is rarely encountered, said Ryakuju as he stepped towards the flower capital. And miraculously, every time Ryakuju takes a step, flowers and plants grow around him, which makes the previously barren country of Wano now turn into a country full of grass and trees. Even though Ryakuju has just arrived in Wano, the effect of his devil fruit power actually makes Wano a fertile land. And then suddenly Ryakuju's steps stopped. With the arrival of the Akazaya samurai Inuarashi, Nakomamushi, Reizo, Shinobu and Kawamatsu blocking Ryakuju Street. Ryakuju then said, you samurai don't get in my way. I have nothing to do with you, said Ryakuju. Reizo then said, that was the navy of one of Luffy's enemies in the ocean, and without further ado Ryakuju attacked the samurai. With the power of his devil fruit, Ryakuju turns into a huge wood forest, and attacks brutally using the roots of the trees he controls. Do you know what the situation is like outside the world now? Tenryubito is a god. An isolated country like this, that has no ties to world governments, has no place in this world. Don't hate me, because that's the rule of the world. This is the power of Mori Mori no Mi that makes me a forest person. My Logier power is the embodiment of the natural source of life. That is comparable to the ocean. It's time for you to accept the reality. Humanity has survived so far, only thanks to the existence of hierarchy. We must teach isolated countries like yours a lesson. These rules are the basis for the survival of mankind. Discrimination is what gives birth to stability. No laws will be violated. If you all want to die here, just try to stop me. I will slaughter thousands of your citizens. If that's what it takes to catch Mugiwara no Luffy. Then suddenly Yamato came and launched his thunder bagware attack at Ryakuju. Every word you say makes me queasiness. Yamato's attack hit Ryakuju squarely, making him almost hit the ground. That bastard is so sick. Your haki is so strong. Who are you? Asked Ryakuju. Yamato then replied, the people of this country have gone through 20 years of misery. Now they can finally celebrate freedom. How could I let you ruin it? My name is Yamato, and I am Kaido's son. Ryakuju was quite surprised to hear that, Kaido's son. And then not long after Momonosuke came. Your words are very true, Yamato. And we samurai, we will not let you touch our heroes who are recovering, said Momonosuke while shooting a fireball. But it didn't come out. Because the fireball didn't come out, Momonosuke attacked directly. He ran very fast to attack Ryakuju. Momonosuke bit one of Ryakuju's wooden body parts. Whatever happens, we will expel you from the flower capital. No one can bring horror and terror to our people again. I swear, I won't let you, said Momonosuke while biting Ryakuju. Ryakuju was quite surprised to see a pink dragon. The pink dragon was really strange. This is the first time I know this ability. However, Momonosuke's attacks were nothing to Ryakuju. You're just annoying. Ryakuju wrapped his roots around Momonosuke's body, making him unable to move. Yamato and the others also try to save Momonosuke, but Momonosuke forbids it. Don't interfere, Yamato, said Momonosuke. Then moved round the sea in the country of Wano. Yonko the Akagami no Shanks pirates Apparently he was around Wano. Lucky Roo then says to Shanks, "This boss is hard to believe, but he really made it happen. Luffy has become a great pirate. Let's meet him, boss," said Lucky Roo. Shanks then answered, "This reminds me. The last time I was here, we said goodbye to Odin-san. Momonosuke and Hiyori, maybe they're big now." Shanks' other nakama also invited Shanks to visit Wano, boss. "Now let's meet Luffy. He has become a great pirate." While Yasip is a little nervous, "Hey, wait a minute. I'm still not ready to meet my son Yusuf," said Yasip. Lime Juice then said, "That kid named Keed is also here, right? That kid used to try to mess with us by challenging us," Lime Juice said. Then Shanks read the news and saw Luffy's bounty and latest form. "Look at this," Shanks said while smiling when he saw it. Then flashback when Shanks remembered when he got the devil fruit Gamu Gamu no Mi. Flashback to several years ago, before Shanks met Luffy. The world government agent ship was very shocked, seeing the Akagami pirate ship approaching them. Then Ben Beckman told Shanks that there was a purple agent on the ship. "It's just troublesome," said Beckman. Shanks then replied, "Who cares? Keep moving forward." And then who was still very young at that time, and he was the one who guarded the devil fruit Gamu Gamu no Mi. He was very surprised by Shanks' arrival. What were they after? "We are not carrying any treasure, we're just carrying a lousy devil fruit. Say whoa whoa." And then, after successfully getting the Gamu Gamu devil fruit, Shanks went to Fushire village and met Luffy. There Shanks also remembers when he risked his life to save Luffy from an attack by a sea monster, which resulted in the loss of his left hand. Then moving back to the present, the new children on Shanks' ship were very surprised. If their commanders and captains knew the figure of Mugiwara, the commanders know him, they really know Luffy's Mugiwara. People say he's like a wild monkey demon who can't be controlled. Then Shanks said to his nakama that he didn't want to meet Luffy here. Lucky Roo was surprised to hear that. Shanks then continued, "Have you forgotten what happened in our region?" Shanks' nakama also remembered the incident, where Bartolomeo put up Roger Luffy's jelly flag in Shanks' territory. Bartolomeo even burned Shanks' Jolly Roger flag. Shanks then said again, "We would be embarrassed if we just let that happen." And then Shanks sat down in front of Beckman. "Hi Beck, shouldn't it be time for us to go get One Piece?" Shanks tells Beckman that it's time for them to find One Piece. Then moving to the naval headquarters, the head of the criminal affairs unit, Cromer, told Akainu that the revolutionary forces had really gone too far. "We must not let the revolutionary forces embarrass us any longer," Cromer said. Akainu then answered, "But we no longer have any remaining navy that can be deployed." Akainu said that for now, they couldn't do anything to overcome the revolutionary forces, even though one of the descendants of the world's founder, King Cobra, was killed by Sabo. Then a flashback, showing the revolutionary troops attacking Marajor. Cromer tells how the Holy Land of Marajor was attacked, carried out by revolutionary forces. They burned Tenryubito's house, and burned the symbols of the world's nobles. This was clearly a declaration of war from them. Admiral Ryukyu and Fujitora, the leader of naval defense in Marajor, but in the end they succeeded in freeing their former colleagues, Bartolomeo Kumer, from Tenryubito's slavery, and they managed to escape. "I'm sure the admirals can't do much, since they're fighting in Marajor." Akainu then answered, "Don't make any excuses for their failure. It wasn't just the King Cobra that was killed, but almost at the same time Vivi's daughter had disappeared." Chroma then said, "We are still investigating how these cases are connected." Akainu then said again, "I'm sure Alabaster must be in chaos. because their king has been killed in Marajur. Chroma then said, yes. Their escort ships hadn't even left Red Port yet. It's hard for anyone to leave in this situation. Then Kizaru said, what about the case of the attempted murder of St. Carlos? The one where St. Miascar forgives the criminals who attack. Akainu then answered, in Marajor there are divine warriors who have the authority to carry out punishments on Tenryubito. This is a pretty complicated situation, just leave them be. Akainu said. Kramer then said again, it seems that most of these incidents are related to Sabo. The fire of rebellion is spreading throughout the world. Where 8 kingdoms had a rebellion, they were inspired to start a revolution, while their king had not yet returned from Marajor. As if everyone worshipped him as a god, the greater his legend. It could be said that his influence was also greater than that of the dragon, the revolutionary himself. Even now, he is nicknamed the Sabo Fire Emperor. Kizaru then continued, and what's more, his younger brother is Luffy's Mugiwara, who is currently one of the Yonko. The influence of the Fire Emperor Sabo was even felt in the world of pirates. Now the world has been forced to change, said Kizaru, and then moves to a kingdom, which has staged a rebellion and coup against its king. People raised their weapons, and Sabo's photo was displayed so large, they shouted the name of Sabo the Fire Emperor. And then Akainu said, I became an admiral in a chaotic era, but I don't care where they attack us. We will attack them back from all directions, said Akainu. Momonosuke once again tells Yamato not to interfere with his fight with Ryakuju. Yamato asked why, but Momonosuke was knocked to the ground by Ryakuju. Seeing that Momo was cornered, Reizo then used Ninpo Maki Maki no Jutsu Kaden to set fire to Ryakuju, who acts like it hurts before dropping his charade, and revealing that he is capable of casting a technique that makes him impervious to fire. Ryakuju, who was angry, then stabbed Reizo's chest with its root and started to drain his energy. This makes the samurai angry and do their best to help Reizo, so that Denjiro, Kawamatsu and the Komamushi were also entangled in those roots. Meanwhile, the interior of the castle is downstairs. Kozuki Sukiyaki's secret room shows him with Nico Robin. Then Trafalgar Law joined, using his room. The 3 of them then walked further underground, from the secret Sukiyaki room. When the former shogun admitted that Kaido and Orochi could still find the road poneglyph underground because of Jack. Yes, because Jack, he is a fishman. Robin asks what does he mean, and the Sukiyaki explained that they would understand soon enough. Law then asked how far it was, and Sukiyaki said, if the distance is until we arrived at several hundreds of years ago, just as the 2 of them saw a faint light coming from the glass window. The 2 then looked into it and were shocked by what they saw. If the whole city was underwater. Sukiyaki explained that what they saw was Wano, in particular from 800 years ago. Although he didn't know how things got like that, Robin said that the city looked well preserved, as if the water is not sea water. And Sukiyaki said from his theory long ago, Wano was much bigger and is at sea level on land around the foot of Mount Fuji. But at some point, a wall was erected around him, which closes the island and prevents rainwater from escaping, which caused the old city to be buried. The land at the top of the mountain was reserved for settlers, and finally became Wano, who is today. The 3 finally arrive at their destination, and find a road poneglyph, marking it as the 3rd path that Mugiwara pirates need. Sukiyaki later said that if one traveled deeper, they would find the ancient weapon Pluton. Outside the flower capital, Ryakuju tells the samurai that it is indeed sad But Kaido's government is what makes this country have the strength to repel enemy attacks from outside. He once again demanded that Luffy be brought before him and promises to leave after he kills her. Yamato then asked Momonosuke to summon Luffy and the others to defeat Ryakuju. But Momo refuses to involve them. Momo also tells Yamato that she doesn't want to taint Yamato's departure after being imprisoned for so long, and after relying on the Straw Hat for so long. He needs to prove that Momo and his followers can take care of themselves once they're gone, where Momo keeps asking Ryakuju to leave, and finally manages to materialize Kaido's Bellabird, which really damages Ryakuju's body. The samurai and Yamato react in amazement at Momonosuke's accomplishments as the Ryakuju tree form burns to ash. Ryakuju is able to regenerate from his sapling and regain its tree form, where he announces he will kill her if she continues to get in his way. However, Ryakuju felt a very strong Hyoshoku Haki blast coming from Shanks, which caused him to return to his normal form. He reacts with surprise that the Akagami pirates are nearby, because Shanks himself said that he thought going after the new generation of pirates when they were exhausted seemed like an act of cowardice, and Shanks asked firmly, "Are you that afraid of the coming of a new age?" Shanks' presence convinces Ryakuju to abandon his mission. Yamato as well as the samurai celebrate their victory. Meanwhile, Luffy, Zoro, Sanji and Jinbei were sitting on the hillside and watching the fight, and said that their samurai friends were truly extraordinary and strong. In the capital castle, Reizo and Shinobu are nursed back to health by Miyagi and Tristan, while Kinemon was forced to admit that Ryakuju had a point when referring to the presence of Kaido, who protects Wano country from enemy attacks. She apologizes to everyone for not being there. Previously, Nekomamushi brushed it aside and asked Kinemon how Zoro was doing. Kinemon explains that he is safe and well, with only serious burns on his face. Even though Okobore City had been burnt, she blushed in acknowledging her beauty even after all these years. While Inuarashi, Kikinoyo and also Reizo expressed their feelings about the sentimentalist Kinemon. Meanwhile, in the remaining part of Okobore City, Suru and Koko talk about Kinemon's return and how Suru plans to move to the flower capital so she can continue to be by her husband's side. Carrot was then summoned to the castle and announced to be the new ruler of Makimo country, and this certainly made him very surprised. Inuarashi and Nekomamushi explained this decision by telling him that they both chose to stay in Wano to serve Momonosuke and leave the next era in Carrot's hands because of his experience at sea. Carrot disagrees, saying there are so many people stronger than him. But Inuarashi and Wanda support the decision by saying that their duty is to protect their country, and most importantly, he carries Pedro's will in his heart. Then, on the other hand, Kozuki Sukiyaki showed himself to his grandchildren and also the samurai, assuming all the samurai had known about it too, except Kinemon, who internally expressed surprise at Sukiyaki's survival. In another room, Frankie and the Straw Hat members find out from Robin that Plutons do exist in Wano, but he hasn't seen them. Robin asks Luffy if he wants to get it, and here Luffy refused on the grounds that he didn't need it. But Robin asked why Odin wanted to release him into the world. A young-looking woman then intervenes in the conversation, who turns out to be Shinobu, having regained her youthful form after Ryakuju's attack. On the other hand, a nearby eavesdropping caribou is shocked by the truth about the Pluton and must tell that person the truth of this. A few days later, the flower capital was busy again in the castle. Momonosuke barged into a room to ask Zoro to teach him some sword techniques, but didn't find anyone. He looked around the castle and found out from Hiri and Deku that they were gone. After saying goodbye to everyone except him and Kinemon, then we are taken to the Takajuden port. Luffy, Law, and Kid choose their next destination via a post log. The two of them separated because their alliance had ended with the defeat of Big Mom and also Kaido. Luffy and Kid chose to go east while Law decided to go northeast, on the grounds that it was the shortest route to reach the next island, where Luffy and Kid grab straws to decide who will take that route. And Luffy loses in the end, saying Kid he is now the emperor, even though he lost. When discussing about Yonko, or see Emperor Kid took out a flyer and voiced his strong dislike towards Buggy and his new organization that is Cross Guild, with former Shichib Yukai, Crocodile, and also Dracula Mihawk as his subordinates. He has become a figure strong enough to earn the title of Yonko. Zoro then voices his disbelief that Mihawk would be anyone's subordinate, and Luffy said Buggy was an idiot. Kid revealed that Buggy used his company to give bounties to Marine members, while commenting how much the outside world has changed. While they were in Wano, Law gave Kid a copy of the road pornglyph at Wano. Kid revealed that his crew had managed to retrieve it from Wool Cake Island some time ago. Killer states that in order to take part in the upcoming war for One Piece, they need to find the man with the burnt scars. Luffy questioned him about it before Kid left, as he told Luffy that they now had an advantage over Luffy and his crew. Then we go back to the castle, where we see Momonosuke and Kinemon looking for Yamato, where it turns out Yamato was on the roof the whole time, where he announced that he was abandoning his plans to join the Straw Hats and will live like Kozuki Oden in the land of Wano.